You are now about to witness the awesome, crushing might of Yes, my friends, I owe John McCain for that. I got to send him a check. Welcome to a show that nearly never ends. I'm your hostess. Yeah, I'm wearing a skirt today. Can't you tell? I'm your host, not hostess, not host, ESS, but hostess like mostest. Eugene S. Robinson. Stab your eyes out. This is Knuckle Up number 285. And there is joy in Mudville. We'll get to that in a second, though. Right now, Stigmata, Calling It a Just. The song is called Intro All of Nothing. Rochester resident, upstate New York, near Albany, Bob Riley, singing the words that somehow managed to say it all. Listen well, very well. I think there's like 15 times a week. I took my time and I could not see so clear. I'm taking a real good look at you. At your face. So being paid back in full, always nothing. All right, my friends. You know, I got that. John McCain says that reflexively. What the hell are you wearing, Eugene? Don't worry. When a man with a vest fights a man with a poncho, the man with the vest is a dead man. And we have a lot to talk about, so I really can't fuck around. And a couple of things I want to do, recommendations at the top of the hour. If you happen to be interested in Nazis at all, as a root of all industrialized modern evil, it's a commercial. Read Martin Amos's The Zone of Interest. I just finished it. And lest I get some negativity or pushback from some of you, he quotes a writer who I like in the afterword, and he says, and I quote, and I'm reminded of W.G. Sebald's dry aside to the effect that no serious person ever thinks about anything else in regards to Europe between 1941 and 1945. W.G. Sebald, I've got one of his books around here too. No serious person thinks of anything else. It's a novel, but it was exhaustively researched as well as you can expect. You can tell greater truths through novels. Fantastic. Martin Amos, though he got known as a pop writer, well worth the price of admission. I didn't put the book on the shelf because I wanted to give you that benefit. And we got a lot to get to, so let's get to it immediatamente. Yeah, that's right. Multi-culti, baby. So on this show, you know, you understand the routine, right? We watch the fights. We're exposed to the fights, which is what Care Don't Care is about. There were a lot of don't cares on these cards, and you all who exhaustively watch will tweet me during the fights. I know you said this was a don't care, but you got to care about this one, which then will focus my attention, and I'll focus on it. And then I watch all the rest of the fights, and then I sit down and do the show. And I've used an analogy many times between comparing not only the fights, fight night, and the show to drug usage, you know. And they say that one of the reasons that people like drugs so much is because of ritual involved. In very much the same way that if you've ever been to a male or female prostitute, you know, it's very rare for you to walk in the door and just got a bit of thing right to action. You know, humans do things no matter where they are, no matter what country they're in, no matter who they're dealing with, and it has to do with acculturation. You have to, in the drug world, it's the, you know, it's not so much the habit that's attractive, it's the ritual involved. You know, there are very few houses of prostitution where you go in and you don't talk to the person at all. You just go in, take your pants, and you're done. No, that's not how it works. People want to, even if it's threadbare. I was being ignored by the woman at Gold's Gym once. It was because I refused to acknowledge her existence. I got to pay for this. All you do is tell me how much it costs. If you were a machine, I would just put the coins in the machine. But by virtue of the fact that you're not a machine, you want some validation. I can't give you the validation. I got too much stuff in my head. But I understood her frustration, which gave birth to my extreme rage when she decided to ignore me, except I'm not in a service job. So there's a ritual involved. And afterward, so you get the, you know, you gotta, like Lou Reed says, I got no time to waste. You get, you know, you're waiting for the man. You find the guy, you get the money, you find the guy, you purchase the drug, you go and use the drug, and then afterward, and that post drug usage analysis period, what you do is consider, is this crack cocaine, good crack cocaine, or is it poor crack cocaine? Have I been burned or have I not been burned? Is this heroin worth my time or not worth my time? And in a very similar way, post Fight Night 102 and UFC 206, sitting around and you go, man, how do I feel? How do I feel given the endorphins and the I'm not taking beta blockers, given the serotonin level, do I feel good? And I got to tell you, at this remove of about 15 minutes, I feel great. I feel great, absolutely, positively great. Because, you know, you don't understand. When you make an analogy between how America works and the political system, there are many people who voted for Trump, you know, simply because they had an instinctual animal sense that the manner in which they had been lied to and raped before was not the manner in which they desired to be lied to and raped again. Sadly, you have chosen a new liar and a new rapist. But like Russ Meyer once said, somehow the small businessman always gets it in the rear, and America is about to get it in the rear. But that's neither here nor there. The question is, you know, if I bought you this book for Christmas, you'd be pretty happy about it, maybe. If I bought you the book for Christmas and then bought it for you for your birthday again, your happiness would be minimized. If I bought it for your birthday, Christmas, you know, I give it to you for Valentine's Day. If I gave you nothing but that same book, you would find your patience wearing thin, and you might begin to question my sanity. Well, you understand the Baldwin and WME are in the business of selling you fundamentally the same thing over and over again. You know, so how do you brand differentiate your way into $4 billion? Well, baby, this is how. This is my tote sheet from the fight. And as usual, I'm going to start ass backwards with the, you know, because you've already read the news. If you haven't, you're not watching the show. And I have to say, I got a surprise guest calling in from on-site. Well, stick to the show. It will happen sometime during the show, and I'm just going to interrupt what I'm saying, and I'm going to put him on. I'm not going to tell you who it is until he calls, but I'm just going to put him on here, hold it close to the mic, and then we'll be done. If he doesn't call before 8:30, we're out of business. But ideally, this is going to be something pretty cool and special. So anyway, let's go ass backwards. And you know, one of you would either tweeted me or texted me and said, "Do you feel sorry for Anthony Showtime Pettis?" And I wrote back a single worded response: no, I don't. Because his whole act, and now I'm walking like Time's Arrow, the other Martin Amis book I love, walking backwards through time. His whole act, he doesn't require that of me. And I find that highly respectable. And he is Lost Battalion because it has to do with awareness of placement in space. I don't believe he knows he is Lost Battalion, and therefore he is Lost Battalion. much like the Catch-22, the famous Catch-22. You can leave. I can write you up and get you out of the military anytime, is good, as long as you ask for it. But if you ask for it, you're sane and can't leave. I have to send crazy people home if they ask for it. But if they ask for it, they're not crazy, so they don't get to leave. And that's what Catch-22 is. And that's what the Lost Battalion is fundamentally. He doesn't know he is there. Therefore, that's where he is. So at the end, he's like, Joe, I broke my hand. He's holding the ice bag up. So there's that, and the weight cut is tough. I'm done with 145. Like I got a life at 155. Yeah, I'm going, but it was a nice experiment. It was kind of like Conor McGregor's experiment fighting Nate Diaz. It was kind of like that, I'm no more diminished by this fight than he was. When a man with a vest gets a man with a poncho, the man with a vest is a dead man. So this guy, let's step a little further back. He refuses to touch gloves. He's doing this stony thing. Where does the road turn, man? And why were people booing this fight? I want to tell you something that has to do with like MK Ultra shit. You know why people were booing this fight? They weren't booing this fight because this was a fundamentally bad fight. They were booing this fight for the same reason that you, unless you're a very certain special type of character, don't like to watch porn where the people don't dig being in it. His body was doing one thing, but his eyes were clearly indicating to the audience that I'm just gauging this on intuitive sub language, subconscious issues that I find myself watching a Pettis and I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying how he's fighting. I'm not enjoying his approach to the fight. And I'm not addressing how he's addressing the fight. Was it workmanlike? What was better than workmanlike? Was it inspired? No, neither fish nor fowl. So if it's not workmanlike and it's not inspired, it's somewhere dithering in the center. Was it passionful? Well, that's where we get back to workmanlike. It was somewhere dithering in the center. Was it willful? Was it anything other than a guy showing up to fucking work? And believe me, they weren't booing Holloway. They were not booing Holloway. Why? We every time I give the book, if there was a page different each time, you would be completely compelled. It would be almost like this kind of Shahrazad thing. The story that grows and flowers over time. And that's where we are with this UFC thing. They were not booing Holloway. Why? Because the tone and timbre of Hollywood. The tone and timbre of Holloway's involvement in this fight and contribution to what happened in those 3 or 4 rounds was significantly different. Even though if I brought somebody in the room who didn't understand the fight game, didn't appreciate it, they would be equally entertained. But for those heads, as well as for those in attendance who are watching this stuff on big jumbotrons, I've been to that Air Canada Center, Toronto, to see a fight. I believe it was Johnny Boney Joni who I was seeing at the time. You can feel it. You can feel it. Dude misses the weight by 3 pounds. Now, it's a tough cut, and I don't know where he came from to get there. And maybe that last 3 pounds was insurmountable. But if you've been following my middling efforts in maintaining relevance in the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, you'll know that I've come in 3 pounds overweight before. And I put on a sauna suit and ran around the tower down in Long Beach and lost the weight and competed and won. Or lost. I got injured one time. So I don't know that I'm calling bullshit on it. Maybe it was a tough cut. Maybe he had to come down from 160 and another 3 pounds was just going to be impossible. One, I think they need to change the system. This is like sudden death. Sudden death as it occurs with football games or with wrestling matches If it's a wrestling match, it's after three segments, 3 periods. Sorry. Football game, it's at the conclusion of the football game. Sudden death period. That something happens. But this one and done thing, yeah, okay, you want these guys, you want to give them ample. Don't they do that? What are the machinations of the weigh-in? I need to, MMA Journalist of the Year that I'm attempting to be, I need to look this up and figure it out. But I'm calling bullshit on the 3 pounds. And I don't think the bullshit to bear is all Pettis's. But this was cursed from the beginning. Oh, I got laughed at. I got laughed out. I got chumped. What was that? That's a line from some hip-hop song. I got laughed at. I got chumped. I got dissed. On If I Did It, and maybe Care Don't Care preview earlier on in the week. When, oh, yeah, it was on If I Did It when they got Eugene's Lost Battalion. And when I announced that Pettis was in the Lost Battalion because of the crazy talk that he was doing pre-fight. And everybody laughed at me, and you know what? I wonder if they're laughing now. They're not laughing now. As he goes back to Milwaukee with a broken hand and several burned down to the rims automobiles. You better get yourself a Toyota Corolla, bro. Get yourself a bus pass, bro. So Showtime doesn't shake it so well in the RTD. You better economize. They call it voluntary simplicity these days. I'm doing it. Look at my grade. Like voluntary simplicity. I could turn the heat up, but voluntary simplicity. I want to lower my carbon footprint. You're not cheap. You're broke. Yep. Okay. So you know all the stuff, and you get the sense of the motion and the moving of the hand of destiny. Holloway. I'm sad that he's doing all that Bible thumping stuff in there, but I do like the fact that he follows that with motherfuck this and bullshit that and goddamn it this. But with all due respect, Jesus, thank you for giving me this win over a guy who's now permanently exiled to the misty climes of a woodpile somewhere in the woods, where off in the distance he, hey, they say, you Chris, Johnny, Chris, Johnny, Junior. Where's everybody? You're everybody. You and Whitney Houston. She's every woman, you're everybody. Everybody by a woodpile, that's you. You're all the same guy at this point. I see you Navy guys, you go in here, you all look different, but you all come out looking the same. How's that? Scared. So Holloway climbs and something genius happened. I don't know if you heard it. I'm not entirely sure you heard it, but as they're putting the belt on Holloway, and then the camera pans across to Joe as he carries the action over to Pettis, and he says, or something. The camera is shifting, and he says, and all I hear, and I'm tuned to this, all I hear is Brooklyn. Oh, right. Dan is talking about Brooklyn. Camera gets back to Holloway, and Holloway is saying, yo, bro, February in Brooklyn, be about it. Have you not seen WME's hand at work here? Listen, there's a guy I know. His name is Vince Cosgrove. He wrote a book called Tin for Sale about this guy, John Menka. John Menka was a technical advisor, most recently in a memory that would have served you. John Menka was a technical advisor on Goodfellas. But John Menka was a bad guy. And the book Tin for Sale is about his journey from being a cop to being an out-and-out criminal, like just criminal. Like he would turn his police tunic, his beat tunic inside out, mug guys, mug people, beat the fuck out of them and mug them with the nightstick that he carried on the job. He would run back to wherever his car was, get the call, turn the tunic right side out, holster his nightstick, and take the police report, which he would later dump in the garbage. Now, Vince Cosgrove wrote this book, encouraged by Pete Hamill. If you're into New York press, you know that you don't get deeper than Pete Hamill. He's up there with Jimmy Breslin, sort of like Studs Terkel, but you know, going to work every day at a newspaper. And they get a bite. They say, man, Nick Pileggi is pushing this heavy. Nick Pileggi, who's who's Goodfellas writer, and Martin Scorsese's attached. They want this. Why don't you meet with these guys at United Artists? So Vince Cosgrove goes in to meet these guys at United Artists. This is a serious, dark fucking book. And as lo and behold, who was interested? Well, this is in the early days. It was a young upstart agent named Ari Emanuel. And he gets a meeting with dude at a bill. I'm not going to say the name of the company, the film company. It doesn't make a difference anyway. He sits down, Cosgrove sits down, he's got this great gritty book. Scorsese, Pileggi's involved. You know, John Manca, the story. This would make a great fucking movie. He should still push it, but and the first thing the guy says after he gets off the phone, he looks at Vince, he goes, "Have you seen the Flintstones?" Flintstones. Yeah, I've seen the Flintstones. You know, we're working, got a Flintstones movie coming up. We've gone through 13 writers, and Cosgrove goes, "Have you read my book or my screenplay?" And the guy goes, "I haven't, but I hear great things about it. But the Flintstones," and he's like, "My book and screenplay are both very dark, you know, as Goodfellas-esque, you know." And the guy goes, "Yeah. Hey, looks at his resume. You live in Berkeley, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Is Fluffy Donut still there? That donut shop? Man, when I was taking acid, I used to go to Fluffy Donuts all the time. It's nice when you're coming down." And Cosgrove goes, No, I've never been. And he pretty much packs up his shit to leave. It's like, you know what? You know, I'm not gonna, I got a kid, I got college, I got mortgage payments. I can't spend my idle time fucking around with people like this. You know, Ari apologizes to him. This is Hollywood. I mean, the story is, there's a 360 degree where he was just in Fluffy Donuts today, and there's a line now apparently down the street. It's a super popular place. I guess a lot of people on acid in Berkeley. And he says, "No donut is worth this." And he stalks out, and these women chase him down the street, and they go, "We want you to have a donut." He goes, "I don't want a donut now. Please," you know, a New Yorker, right? "Hey, you got to have this donut." And he eats the donut, and he goes, "It was the best donut ever." Well, they still haven't made a movie from Tin for Sale, a book I have on the shelf here. You should buy it. And Ari Emanuel was prescient beyond belief again. And so if you don't see what's happening, let me tell you what's happening. Okay, how many seasons are we into the Ultimate Fighter TV show? I don't know, 20? Not many shows last that long. When was the last time you watched it? Reality TV shows have making hit. The only people I know who are into reality TV shows are like 15-year-old girls, specifically my daughters. And they don't have a TV at home, so they're not really watching. Like whatever clips they find online. So we've been talking artist development. How are they going to do it? You gotta develop a farm team. And let me tell you something. They've done, like Intel used to do this thing. They used to fill up the creative spaces between their business units in order to, you know, if I'm here and if I got Knuckle Up, If I Did It, and Care Don't Care Preview all backed up, there are no competitive spaces in there. I'm not leaving. Well, what I really need is this, a preview. Well, we got your preview. What I really need is a post view. Got your post view. What I really need is something that far reaching and applies the lessons of MMA to the real world of we're filling in the spaces in a very similar way. In a very similar way, you got to do something to accelerate the development and growth of entertainment kiosks, specifically fighting units named fighters. Fill in the blank. That show is not doing it. The show is a burp at this point. It's something that happens after you've had a good meal. Maybe you watch a show. But so suddenly they start getting very serious about these packages, these vlogs. People tweeting them around, people tweeting them to me, texting them to me. "Oh, have you seen this? Listen to what Dan Henderson says about going against Johnny Boney Johnny tonight." Oh, could my secret guest have something to do with that? Well, it could, but he's got 35 minutes left and he hasn't called yet. You might miss it. I'll tell you at the end of the show if he doesn't call who it was and what it was about. So these vlogs, video logs, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? Is it artist development? Well, that's part of the picture. These we're developing personalities. You watch, now you're developing some sort of emotional identification. There's a journalistic truism. People like looking at people. You know, those of you who are listening to this show, you are envisioning me. Of course, you're not envisioning that I'm wearing a multicolored poncho. My friend, when a man with a vest meets a man with a poncho, the man with a vest is a dead man. Yeah, you hear Popeye in the background, you envision his slobbering mouth. These are visual things. The point is, you know, the development of personalities, the TV show, as long as you got people willing to buy ad space on that platform, ad space that burnishes the brand, that TV show will exist. But I'm not watching it. I'm pretty sure you're not watching it. Yes, it creates space for people to be known, but less. So where do you make these? Well, the vlogs seem to be free. Maybe UFC TV, Fight Pass, but I see them on YouTube. I see them all. People are texting, tweeting. They're appearing on the sites. Necessary part of the MMA ecosystem. So now you go into it, and I have to right now. I have to apologize. Because Venata was a past don't care who became a care, but I was not feeling a particularly gracious mood because of his opponent, and so I didn't care. He and McDessie were not enough to get me to care, but that's for later on. So my apologies, because that was one of the stonier mornings. I got to get into this. So okay, so they got the vlogs, they got the last few me strugglings of the Ultimate Fighter TV show, and what they've done is effectively they turned down the volume on the bald one just a little bit, because the bald one was a great spacer. He was filling up the spaces between the spaces just by being a voice. And the spaces that you're filling up are from fight to fight to fight, because they have to constantly, like the guy going into the whorehouse, like I said, or somebody about to get into a street fight. There's ramping language that's involved. You're not just going to turn around and go, oh my God, I need to watch UFC 207 tonight. You don't do that. You have to have somebody talk. You have to be seduced into this idea that this is something that you want to do. There are a lot of things to do with a Saturday night. I had a friend who's going to LA yesterday. What did I do with my Saturday night? I watched the fights post facto. I'm gonna tell my friend, yeah, I know you're going to LA, but fuck it, Jack. Got shit to do. Watch a fight. You know, sometimes people not in the fight game, they don't understand. So they're developing these separate entities that are accelerating these personalities, and something more than that. And this is why I'm getting to why they were booing Pettis. Something more than that. It's called the Rocky methodology. They're taking fighters. Like I said 2 weeks ago, you know, a guy who's in number 10 to 15 is fundamentally going to fight very different against a guy who's in either champion to the 5th place. Well, it won't be the champion. So let's go 1st place challenger to the 5th place challenger. They will turn in fundamentally different fights. A person who's in 1st place, or 1st place challenger to 5th place. We saw this with Demetrius Johnson. Somebody who's in that position is fighting one way. And you're not going to like it when I say it, but I'm going to say it. They're fighting scared. God forbid you're in 5th place. You don't want to look down on your sheet of paper as you sit there in the phantom toll booth and go, oh man, I had one moment of inattention, and now I'm 15, I'm 8, I'm 7, I can't. So they fight very different. You take a guy who's 10, 11, 12, and put him against a guy who's 4, he realizes in the back of that's what happens, and you get fireworks. Okay, so going backward in time, Matt Brown and Cerrone. Now, I could have picked Cerrone because I think he's a fucking moron, Manchurian candidate, you know, but I like the guy. I like the guy, but, you know, the whole Trump thing, and then And then the red herring where he's a Sonder commando, trying to, get people Scalact with this whole MMA Fighters Association. Now people start jumping aboard. He's like, whoa, you shouldn't listen to me. I don't even know what money is. But Matt Brown, at one point, I was watching the Matt Brown fight, and he's trying to lock up a triangle. He's got arm in, everything. He's got it. But I go, maybe you shouldn't have fucking beaten up your jiu-jitsu coach, man. Maybe you'd have been able to finish him with that triangle if you hadn't beat up your jiu-jitsu. Not like I got any big boner for jiu-jitsu coaches. I like to beat up Sorrell pretty much every day. The day I see him, the first thing in my mind is, beat that guy to death. Somebody would say today, hey, how would you do in an MMA match against Sorrell? And Sorrell goes, I kill you, Gene. I said, yeah, you kill me on the ground, maybe. But there's punching and kicking, and I've easily done as many fights as you. I mean, outside of David Loazo, you're fighting, and Jamie Jara, you're fighting bums like I was fighting. I lost 2 fights that I have memory of. To Chris Sanford, kicked off the Ultimate Fighter show the first season because he couldn't get his cardio in shape. He didn't need it with me because he knocked me out the first round. Or toward the end of the first round, so I came back the second round, and then they got choked out. It happens, So, so I thought about that about Matt Brown, but I did on my tote sheet. I did pick Matt Brown, and I picked against Cerrone. I would have picked against Cerrone if he had come in a tank. I would have picked against him. I had to. But Matt Brown, who was like talking crazy and echoing the kind of Honda thing, his head is gone. He is gone. He is gone. Self-reflection doesn't sit well. Your level of belief has to be enough so that you say something like that you could beat a 20-year-old, a 20-year-long Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in an MMA, who actually has an MMA record, Fight Finder MMA record in the form of Sorrell. You have to believe that you could beat this guy's head in, even up to and including the point when he's beating you in. He's beating your head in. Well, it's not just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's everything. I saw Loazo beat him. So Matt Brown is now having a dark night of the soul. And he got put down in a way, I was like saying at first, it's weird fighting guys who you know. But, at this point, Cerrone was the hand of God for Matt Brown. He was the hand of God. He, I did a competition, a grappler's quest, and, beat one guy, and my teammate got a bye. And I go, oh, I'm going against my teammate. We'll go. It'll be just like practice. It'll be pretty mellow. It'll be all right. And dude tried to kill me. I was like, oh, shit. Does he know I'm tired from this match? Guy, ease up, buddy. What are you doing, Eric? And he beat me. He didn't tap me out, but he just outpointed me. I was like, whoa. This is right at the beginning. This is about 5 years ago, my serious training with Sorrell. But yeah, fundamentally, you do fight differently when you fight guys you know. These guys were known to each other. But Matt Brown wasn't looking across seeing Cerrone. At the third round, Cerrone goes, let's tap gloves. It's like, come on, man. Dude, have fun doing this. If you don't like what you're doing, don't do it. And, Matt Brown's like, yeah, okay. Gripping. And got gripped right into a neck kick. If he had been loosey-goosey, I'm not saying, but, you're on your back in the church staring at the ceiling and it hurts. I'm not saying Matt Brown has lost battalion. But Matt Brown is in a place from which Matt Brown will never emerge. And then you got my, why don't we call that place Lost Battalion in this instance? Except I think he's got the sneaking sensation of exactly where he is, but I don't know that. I didn't watch the post-fight presser because I want to start this show right away. I haven't seen it yet. I'll watch it later. It's a drag, man. It's a drag to see somebody's head go. But, in a lot of ways, it's easiest for the head to go because the head is so complex. Like if I have a tool that's a stick, that tool will stand in my good stead for a long time because it's a stick. You know, my stick, I have my favorite stick around here somewhere. I got a favorite stick. That stick is steady 27 years I've had this stick. I could knock your head out with it. I could use it to prop open a door. I could use it to rest an axle on. I've done anything, everything with this stick. This freaking phone, however, much more complicated than the stick, goes out. Easy. You drop it, goes out. It's easy for the head to go out. Easy for the head to go out. Hard to get it to come back, and hard to get it to not go out. Now the stick, something else entirely. Be the stick. See the stick. How else do you get to 54 and still want to fight, guys? You know, there was a great story that Kevin Weeks told me about Whitey Bulger, about walking along, and he was walking along with Kevin, and they were with their ladies, and some, you know, some kids, you know, Eminem, some shit like this. I don't know. But, hey, old man, watch out where you're going. You get fucked up. And next thing they know, Whitey Bulger, well, everybody who knows him calls him Jimmy, had a knife to their throat. And you could, he just like Kevin said, man, that murder was Jimmy's thing. It kind of relaxed him. Yeah, no, you discover that you're in a different place. Sometimes you get these different guys. These guys are the sticks. But that's not Matt Brown. And I think by the time I get to If I Did It, I will have read enough to confirm his delivery, parcel post to the Lost Battalion. Superboy, both Kid Nate and I picked Superboy against Perennial. You don't find a bigger Cub Swanson booster, but God damn it, if I didn't think Cub had retired. It's one of those names, like you talk about somebody who's Major Tom, where you say Cub Swanson, you just look at him. I thought, dude, retired. Retired. And they asked the post-fight, why did you? He goes, the guy called me. You know, it's weird, the kind of shit people, you know, I got Atomic, you know, we got our resident Knuckle Up. We have our resident anti-Semite racist. And they're always trying to get my goat. And those of you who watch the show long enough have known that stuff doesn't get my goat. It doesn't bug me, right? Except for the fact that you're fucking stupid. It doesn't bug me. You know, the high hand that was usually my father's stock in trade, like Eugene, you of all people should know. That's actually gets me every time. I catch myself, but it gets me every time. God, oh yeah. But I finally figured out, going back to these MMA matches I had, I finally figured out what bothers me. I'm fighting with this guy, and I'm sort of, you know, messing around. Yeah, man, you know, there were no weight classes, so I was maybe about 10 pounds heavier than this guy. And I shoot in on him, and he sprawls, and I'm, you know, maybe thinking about pushing the shot because I have one of his legs, trying to pull his leg in. And I go, wow, man, if he was smart, he would knee me in the head. And then he knees me in the head. It's like I told him to knee me in the head. And I go, yeah, but he's not smart enough to do it again. And he does it again. I was like, oh, that hurt. It didn't feel any good. I got to, you know, move his legs out of the way. But he's goading me. And you could Donna Shalala me at some other time. He says, you know, you hit like a girl. Oh, my daughters all fight. My sister took martial arts. You can get Jermaine Durandami trained with us, Iron Lady. She hits you, you stay hit. It doesn't bother me. He goes, all right, come on, faggot. Calls me. Whatever. Because come on. What does he say? What does he say? Come on, old man. Ding! Lost it. Grabbed him, wrapped my fingers in his head like I was playing tetherball. And that was the end of that. He's complaining about me grabbing his hair, and I kneed him to the floor, and bing, fight was over. That's what happened with Superboy and Cub Swanson. He called him out, and Cub must have been sitting at home with his SoCal tattoo on his chest. It's like, whoa. Dude thinks he's got an easy fight? Dude, you know, you can work yourself up into some fever. Is he trying to chump me out? He's trying to chump me out. Thinks I'm just sitting around here in Southern California you're making, and you'll find this with professional fighters a lot. You know, the frequency at which they're tuned is very different. And, you know, like Harley is in a great place. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Harley Flanagan on Renzo Gracie's team. And he said, yeah, and they interview him for this Vice Land thing, and he's talking about being on the subway. He said, I almost got into a fight getting here today, 2 on the subway. And I realized, look, I want to do this video thing. I got to see my girl later, and I don't have the time and patience. And I can see that. Street hassles, you know it's going to be over soon. It's really not worth it. But if it's some interpersonal stuff, if you want a category of person that's as grudge holding, fighters are fucking some grudge holding motherfuckers. I learned that the hard way myself early on. And I realized the longer I do it, the more the grudges I keep. Some guy was, his son was doing the warm up today. Oh, he's doing the warm up better than you, Eugene. The kid's 6 years old, and he was. You know. And I was like, he's doing it better, but you still have to roll with me. He goes, no, Eugene, no. I'm injured. My wrist is, your wrist is injured, huh? Yeah. Well, I'll be waiting for you. Me and my nice elephantine memory will be waiting for you. And I was joking, but believe me, once you get over a certain, everything is an affront. Everything is an excuse and avenue. And so whether he was retired or not, Cub Swanson was like, fuck this. And if you have seen a better fight, Superboy lost his fight, but in his loss, he was more significant than any other fucking fight that you have seen in a long time. They were not booing Superboy. They were booing Pettis. Why were they booing Pettis? Because Pettis is a dead man walking, and people don't like to see dead people. It makes them uncomfortable. Take you and your broken hand and your burnt up car and go back to fucking Milwaukee with the Wheaties box. It's not that we don't like you. It's that you don't like you. And you not liking you causes us to trundle downhill the cycle of introspection. You know, like Travis Bickle says, you know, I don't think we should be involved in these morbid self-attentions. And that's where Anthony Pettis puts us. Superboy, no. He was show and go, beginning to end. And he said, and the guy he's thinking in front of you in a way that's absolutely delightful. And he says, and keep in mind, he's bashed up. And he goes, man, so this is what it feels like to lose. He hasn't lost since 2010. He goes, this is never going to happen again. Now, you know, he may or may not deliver on that, but I guarantee you, I'm not the only one who heard that. I mean, that's why a lot of us who train are here, right? I get surrounded by 20 gang members from the fucking projects when I live in Crown Heights. And their objective wasn't to steal my shit, which I had shit that would have been nice to steal. But their objective was to fuck with me and my friends. And somehow they had pegged me as a leader, and they surrounded me, and the smallest one picked up a rock and put the rock inside of an icy snowball and said, what? And I said, what? He stands in front of me. The guy was smaller than me. Takes it, jams it in my face as hard as possible. And the first thing I wanted to do, because I'm a counter guy, and his brother, who was like 17 when I was 10, 9, like, what are you going to do? And it was a ritual humiliation. They did this 4 or 5 times, didn't steal my shit. Don't know why. Maybe they thought I was somebody else. We were just having fun sledding. Crown Heights, right off of Utica, there's a park. You decide that's not going to happen again because that felt fucked up. Happened to Joe Rogan. Why do you think he's that kind of lunatic he is? Happens, you decide. You're 2 types of people. You decide, well, maybe it won't happen again. Or you decide that won't happen again. Superboy goes, I got to train harder. And he got an invigorated Cub Swanson. That was a river that raised all boats, whatever that thing is. That's a tide that raises all ships. Genius. Gastelum. One of the reasons I'm wearing the poncho. When the man with a vest goes against the man with a poncho, the man with a vest is a dead man. Gastelum against, first of all, Gastelum is cruising for a fucking bruising, right? Joe asked him, so are you done with 185? You're going to go back to 170? He goes, I'm going back to 170. Don't do that. One look at you can tell, you're like Roy Nelson. I was talking to Mike Colgan about Roy Nelson. How come that guy goes, he's in great cardio shape. Guy runs 6, 10, 15 miles. He's in great cardio. That's the shape he is. That's the shape he is. That's it. You look at Gastelum and you're like, man, don't fuck. You go home, look at your clocks. With your family members, you are better off being the quick guy at 185 than being the sucked up guy at 170. But in any case, your fucking up of Tim Kennedy was absolutely delightful. And I see here on my list that Kid Nate, we both picked Holloway. I picked Matt Brown. He picked Cerrone, so he's up one on me. We both picked Superboy, so we're down, but we're still 1 for 1, right? Hold on, or no, we're not. Because I picked Gastelum and he picked Kennedy, so now we're 1 for 1. Delightful. I don't know what the fuck Kennedy was thinking. But you know what? Again, the unseen hand. The unseen hand. Because if it was up to the bald one, he never would have been in that cage. Oh, he's his it's, they're antitrust things. They're long games involved and not seeming to oppose which is Mixed Martial Arts Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association. You don't have to aid in a bet. You can go on like you've done and say Bjorn Rebney is a piece of shit, which I think the bald one has done. But restraint the trade now. Let these guys do it. They can speak out. They can do whatever they want. Cerrone backs away from it, leaving some people Scalak. Sportly, nobody listened. I mean, and I'm sure King Mo and aided and abetted. I don't know what Kennedy was thinking. I picked Krylov. Kid Nate did not, so he's up on me 2 to 1 now. Krylov, and I'm going fast now. I would have picked Sago because he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but like I said, I've seen Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts get knocked the fuck out. Which he did. Hold on, I can't read my own scribble. Sorry. Yes, it's that bad. Where are we now? Okay, so and I don't know what I was thinking of Krylov. I don't know. I just liked the guy, and that was bad. So before then, it was a Sago. Hold on, Red. I'm sorry, my notes are screwy. I can't find it. I can't. Oh, I see what we did. We crossed the line. Well, in any case, Sago lost and I won. So there is that. So now Kid Nate and I are 2 and 2. We both picked Makovsky. And Makovsky, we always knew he would fail, but never quite so spectacularly. But apparently we didn't really. So so we're 2 and 2. So that, which, while Kid Nate might feel good about that, it just means in my mind that he's better off than he's ever been, where I am worse than I have ever been. Kabalov, sorry. Kabalov. That's what my scribble will say. Trained by Magomedov. But Dustin Ortiz beating Makovsky. But you're starting to see something as well. Guys who are out of the money, and I don't know whether people are paying attention or they've internalized the lessons, but they're really fighting these rocky fights. They're pulling it out. I don't know what it is, whether it's taking somebody from either end of the spectrum and giving them a brass ring, or where you got your moment and it's like, this is it. But it begs the question, what do you do with guys 6 through 10? Neither fish nor fowl. They're not the super cautious fighters that exist between one challenger and 5th place. But they're not swing for the fences people that you find from 10th to 15th place. The 6 to 10, 6 to 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's a catch as catch can. But it shows an overweening intelligence that kicks in. So now let's go back. We both picked Lewis. We both picked Nagao. And I picked Corey. But this was UFC Fight Night 102 was largely a disappointing, but this is a disappointment. But even given that it was a disappointment, and I say disappointment because there were a lot of don't cares that came on and will still don't cares after. Venata, like I already apologized, not on the UFC Fight Night, but on UFC 206. Venata was a great fight, but I didn't trust McDessie to make it so I backed off of Venata. But I won't do it again. That's all I can say. But even with the UFC Fight Night 102, you see this overweening sort of intelligence about the matchmaking that makes the fights themselves the thing. You can't have the B stage be the thing. And that was the overwhelming Hollywood intelligence that I see guiding the hand of the fight game at this point. Yes, if you don't, this is the thing about the Baldwin. In absence of that kind of stuff, the interstitial stuff that holds the organs in the body, in the absence of that kind of stuff, where what's as they develop, the fascia underneath that's tying in your organs in place to your body, as that stuff is developing, you don't. The TV show is part of it, but he had to fill in the space to keep the organs in the body functioning. The Baldwin but at a certain point, the Baldwin got drunk with the fact that it was tying together casual fans, tying together Hollywood, tying together old school cats. That he was the interstitial fascia that was holding the organs together. But if you don't like the Baldwin, then you don't like the game. So just like jiu-jitsu, where it's like, okay, I have my elbow here, I scoop up your arm, and then I immediately replace in that space where my hand had occupied, I slide my knee up because I want to eliminate the space while freeing my hand to slap on an Americana. It's the same thing. Cool down the Baldwin. I know. You got to act like you've been there before. I've seen it happen. You put somebody on stage who's never been on stage, you get the microphone, and they don't shut the fuck up. They won't stop. They're doing a Sally Fields. Oh, they like me. They really like me. You know what? A little of you goes a long way. Most people could say that. I am mindful of that. What do you think? I can't do a 3-hour show like Joe? Well, Joe is his different type of personality. You can take him for 3 hours. Very few of you could actually take me for 3 hours. I couldn't take me for 3 hours, believe me. I am the guy who I punch in the mouth at the bar if I go on for 3 hours. You just stand up from your bar stool, you go, that's about enough of that guy. Bing. So the interstitial stuff has now been, we got the vlogs. We got fight matchmaking that has fights. We went into this half-assed. The Care Don't Care preview this week, there were so many don't cares, it was embarrassing. But which means that I was losing faith in the interstitial fascia's ability to hold the organs in the body in place. Why am I going to sacrifice my Saturday when clearly these many don't cares on the card means that they don't care about the card? But what happened is fights that I didn't expect shit from overperformed, which tells me the exact opposite thing is happening, that they're completely enamored of they're increasing the quality of the exchanges. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm not here for the name. I'm not here for the name. I'm here to watch stuff that it pulls from the Aristotelian ideal of realm of eternal ideas, Platonic realm of eternal ideas, not Aristotle. That's where I'm looking for, you know, honor, truth, these kind of beauty, goodness. I'm looking for stuff that you don't see except that you pull from the peak experience. That's what I'm looking for. Doesn't matter to me that it's got a name I've heard on it before. So do you understand what I'm saying? Going into the fights, I looked at the names and go, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. Because I had an inborn inability to believe that they gave a shit about the actual fights. And my orientation was about the names because I knew at least I could count on names to deliver a certain quality of narcotic. But now that I know that the people involved, after fights that were just 0 fights and ended up being killer fights, now that I know that they're all about increasing the quality of the drug that's delivered, I'm in. I can relax. Like the heroin that was popular in New York at the time, Tango and Cash. You don't have to download shit, let me on the show. Where the guy said, if I OD, don't wake me up. His buddy gets panicked because he ODs, calls the hospital, fucking shoot the guy out with Narcan. They take him to the hospital. They're going to arrest him for criminal possession. He breaks the handcuffs, escapes from the jail, runs back to the Bronx. Busted in the room in the apartment. Guy still nodding out. Says, you fucking owe me. I told you. That's how good that heroin was. That guy wanted to die rather than to be yanked out of his drug-fueled reverie. If we honestly, honest to God, if you know that even if the quality improves, you're there no matter what, because you don't know, as real as it gets, you don't know what you'll see. How do you think Oxbow has managed to be? We got our record coming out in the spring. How do you think we've managed to be semi-interesting to people since 1988? There's somebody recently put a story on this picture where I was almost going to beat this guy up in Carlisle, England. And the guy said, you know, I started this all-standing policy. Anybody connected to the fight game or a fighter, call me, text me. I'll give you a quiz. If you pass, so I make sure you're not gaming the system, you're on the guest list. Come to any Oxbow show anywhere. Or any show I happen to be on, you're on the list. Some of you have actually tried this. 3 or 4 of you, 5 of you at last measure. Once in New York at Europa, a couple of times in San Francisco, in LA. You've actually taken me up on this. Because I discovered this show in Carlisle, England, that there were martial artists in the audience from Suriname, curiously enough. And when this guy started fucking with me, they jumped him and threw him out. They did what the club is not willing to do. The club is not willing to do it because for them it makes it a show. Not realizing that what we do on stage is enough of a show. But the point is, people have an expectation with Oxbow that anything could happen. And that's not that bold of a statement, you know, because I'm going to end this show and stand up and walk from this room and anything could happen. That's a pretty constant state of being. But we're so used to things that disappoint, you know, that you don't believe it to deliver it on the promise. But these fights delivered on the promise for no other reason than Superboy and Korean Superboy Bok Choy. Korean Superboy Bok Choy. Well, that's not his name, Bok Choy, but you know what I mean. That's the nickname I've given him. And Cub Swanson. You know, when was the last time you thought shit about Cub Swanson? Don't tell me it was recently, because you haven't. I don't believe it. But they turned it out and they turned it up. And like Joe Rogan said, he was breathless when he got in there. That was probably the best fight I have ever. And it wasn't one of those lopsided fights where it was just a slugfest where guys were like, oh man, he's got a chin on him. This is sadistic. No, they were still employing strategy, tactics, and it was still mixed martial art. Kicks were being thrown, takedowns were being attempted. And I'm not even willing to shit on Lewis. You know? Yeah, you know, people were like, it wasn't that interesting, but it was interesting enough. I mean, now that I know that they're paying attention, you don't spend $4 billion on something and don't pay attention. You do not do this. So all of the nervous Nelly stuff I was doing prior to, and I was quaking and stuttering and muttering and wondering about how 2017 was going to show up, were they going to make it or not, and I'm just talking now. Because who was going to call Scott Kelly, guitar player for Neurosis, is actually at the Johnny Boney Joni Dan Henderson grappling match. He's well respected in Oregon, so he got good seats because he works, as a lighting front of house sound guy. So they all hang out together, backstage passes and so on. So he was gonna come. He was gonna call up and let me know. Call up from wherever the thing is and let me know what's going on with the grappling match. But we're now an hour into the show and he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it. So we're probably going to talk about it. Oh no! Oh no! Oh man! Well, I'm sure you guys have gotten the news before I got the news. No, hold on. He's not injured. Well, Scott's not here to talk about it, so we're not going to have it. Maybe I'll dip a little bit into it on if I did it or I don't care preview later on in the week. But that's the end of the show. So this is Knuckle Up 285. I'm your host, Eugene S. Robinson, with the standing for Sancho. Because when a man with a vest meets a man with a poncho, the man with a vest is a dead man. Thanks for listening. You can we can join up on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson. I'm on Instagram as Mr. Sleep 3. But if you don't have any posts on your Instagram, I assume you're a spy, so I don't okay you. And you got to both Twitter and Instagram. You got to okay because I want to know who's at the party. So don't send me an invite on Instagram if you got no post up because I believe you're a spy. That's it. Sorry. You could fake put up pictures and you might be a spy anyway, but at least you got some skin in the game. So anyway, that's the end of the show. I will see you soon. Lee, give a thumbs up. Give a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. See, I'm getting pro at this. Yeah, that'll be nice. I'll put that on my tomb after I burn myself. Anyway, we'll see you later. Look what you made me do!